Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to celebrate the year of the rabbit by making 3 cards and an art journal page. And that was inspired by this rice paper set that comes from ITD collection that came in the subscription box from Ninny's Napkins. Look at these adorable mini rice papers. This sheets roughly measure about 6 inches by 6 inches, so they're a good, decent size. They're beautiful artwork. In the subscription box, I got 2 sets. This one is colored, and I like some of these, and you'll probably see me creating with them on another day. Oh, love that one, and oh, that one too. But today I am going to use the ones with the rabbits. Here's a close-up of the 4 projects that I'm going to create using the same basic rice paper, but handling it in different ways, give you variations on a theme, so to speak. So the first one, we are working on a 7x10 mixed media page, and I am going to use a gel print. This gel print has a dark blue background and some gold and white, and I chose it because it matches the colors that are on the rice paper. It's a Payne's gray, which is a bluish black color. Now, to cut around and get a deckled edge on the rice paper, I'm using a small round brush and adding water. Now, to compare this to Stamperia rice paper, Stamperia rice paper is a little tougher. It's a little harder to rip apart. This one came quite easily, but is way more sturdy than napkins. So it's good to be using, and you're going to see exactly why using rice paper over napkins might be beneficial sometimes. So I'm just gluing this gel print down using a brayer to make good adhesions. I think I put gel medium underneath, and then I'm going to put a coat on top and just make sure that I have perfect adhesions. So it's kind of an Insta background, and I'm thinking I'm going to put one rabbit there on one side and one on the other side. At least that's what I thought. There was a little bit of white showing, so I grabbed my Payne's gray and I just filled in the gaps. So here was my plan, to put one bunny on this side and one there, and then some kind of sentiment that would go. And you can see the colors. It's very neutral and very understated, and not really my style. I tend to go for the brighter colors, which is why I chose this. So I'm gluing this down, and you'll notice that all that dark came through the rice paper, and I didn't like it, so I peeled it up. Can't do that with a napkin. And I'm drying it, and then I decide to make it so that you can't see through it. It doesn't go translucent at all. I'm putting a coat of gesso, white gesso, on the underside, and it handles it well. This is going to preserve the colors on the rice paper and not allow the background color to come through. And so once that's dry, I'm just gluing it down with the fluid matte medium, and you can see you can't see the background through this. It's not going to distort the color. I'm liking how that works, so I grab the gesso and I'm gessoing the other rabbit in preparation to glue it down on the other side. I'm being careful not to get any gesso on the front of the rice paper. And then I decide I want to add some things to the background. So I grab my dot stamp and I'm using Prussian blue. It's a very subtle addition. It's kind of filling in some of the gaps, adding some more layers. Albeit from this view you can't really see too much of this detail. Then I grab my script stamp and I'm stamping with the Prussian blue as well. They're just fine little details. And yes, I could have done that, or should have done it before I glued anything down. I grab a sentiment now. Every bunny needs some bunny. And I'm thinking I'm going to put that on the left side, nixing the idea of putting the other rabbit down. Then I grabbed the champagne gold stencil butter from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'm putting it through this Posies in a Row stencil. And I'm going around. This is really making this pop. It's tying in with the gold in the background, which is why I chose the gold, but it's brightening up what is a very subdued and dark page. It's kind of like a leafy wreath circle around the rabbit. But I'm really loving this. This is adding texture and color. It's brightening the page. And so now I'm going to glue down the sentiment. And I wrap up my brush with the gel medium in a plastic because I know I'm going to add more. I'm going to be using it again, and I don't want to put it in the water. Cleaning up the mess, and I'm going to add some of these posies on the other side just to brighten it again. I want to add more gold, and I want to add a border, so I grab my fine line bottle. Now I have not used this fine line bottle for months and months, if not a year, and it still worked. And the reason is there's a needle that goes into the nozzle. Now inside this is gold paint that I have thinned to the consistency that comes out of the bottle. I was really expecting to have to clean out the bottle and the needle and clean it up, so I was very, very impressed. And I'm outlining the sentiment, and I outlined the page with that gold. And for the most part, I think I'm done. So let's move on to the next project. This is a 5x7 card, and I grabbed another gel print because when I was flipping through my gel prints to find one before, now this one was just a small piece, but again, it has kind of that brown and there's a little bit of teal in there, and it just seemed to go with these bunnies, and it just fits perfectly on this 5x7 card. I'm going to glue that down. Now I stuck the card in a little envelope that I made out of copy paper, and that just keeps the inside of the card clean because, well, I'm not a neat crafter. Cutting off the excess, and here I have a white border at the top and the bottom, but the sides go right to the ends. Back in my little envelope pocket, and now trying to decide or positioning the rabbit. Now I typed out a whole page of different rabbit bunny sayings. This one says, "Don't worry, be hoppy." I love working on a theme, so this is all bunnies and rabbits, even though every page is somewhat different. Every project is somewhat different. There is a direction to how I'm going. The same colors, the same theme and sentiments. Now this one, remember, I had put a coat of gesso, so the background, even though it's dark, is not going to show. Coming up, the next two cards, I do not gesso the back of the rice papers. Once everything's dry, I'm cutting it off. I'm thinking, maybe I could incorporate that there. Nope, they save it for another day. Now I'm grabbing the makeup sponge that has black paint on it and just edging the card. So So that little pack of rice paper had 6 different bunny images. Now this one, there's teal in the background and there's a little bit of a shade of teal on the bunny. So I'm going to use this metallic cobalt teal in a minute to add that pop of color. When everything else is neutral, I want some more color. I'm just shading on the gel print. And then I'm taking the cobalt teal and that same Posies in a Row stencil. Because this is a card and because I might plan on mailing it out, I don't want to add bulk to the envelope. So I'm just using stenciling instead of modeling paste. But if you were doing this on an art journal page, you could use the turquoise stencil butter. But look how that just perks up the page or the card here. Loving it. So I have 2 more, and this time I decide to use the 6x6 folded cards from TCW, and I'm putting those in my envelopes. And this time I did not gesso the back sides. I am just going to glue them onto the gessoed card. So the card here, I'm giving it a coat of gesso because I'm thinking the techniques that I'm going to do will require it to be a sealed or non-porous surface. So once it's gessoed, I'm going to glue this down with the fluid matte medium. So the first time you saw me putting the gesso on the card, here I'm just gluing the rice paper down. Now these are lovely as they are, so if you really want a quick, easy, you could call this done or add a sentiment and call it done. But I'm going to add a little bit of something to it here. Now I want to add some flowers and color to one of those. So I grab this napkin, which is from NINNYSNAPKINS. I cut off a section of it and I'm peeling off the 2 excess plies. And I'm going to glue this down on a piece of scrap copy paper with gel medium. Once that's dry, I'm going to be able to easily cut the flowers out that I want to use on my card. While that's drying, I am going to add some color to this background. So I grabbed the blue-black and a brown, and I'm mixing them with water right on the card. Now remember, I put a coat of gesso, so it kind of stays on the surface, it doesn't soak in. So some areas are brown, some are that dark blue, the Payne's gray color. And it's drying very quickly, so I decide I'm going to use the saran wrap here and crinkle it down, and that's going to give that saran wrap crinkled broken glass effect that I love. And that works because you have the gesso underneath. And then I'm going to put the saran wrap on this side and scrunch it up so I get that texture, but it's subtle. So these are the colors that were already in the background. Now I'm peeling this off after it sat for a bit. And you're going to see me grab my heat tool and dry that in spot. You don't want to remove it too quickly because the liquid will just blend and you'll lose any patterning or detail that you have. But it's a beautiful effect. Very nice neutral card. Now I'm going to do the same with the other card, but this time in an effort to keep it wetter, I'm going to make a pool of color, the brown here, and the dark blue. And then once I have a pool there, I'm going to paint the entire background and then just put the saran wrap on in one go, in hopes that it gives me more crinkles. Add it on, crinkle it up. And it does sit for a while till it gets dry enough for me to remove it. So while that's drying, I'm cutting out the flowers, the roses, and you can see that pop of pink on that neutral. Love it. So I put bottling paste flowers through, I stenciled flowers on this wreath form, and now I'm using those little tiny parts of a napkin. So go through your napkins and see. Since I have my Inktense blocks out, I decide I'm going to paint the leaves on that wreath. And I'm using 2 different colors of green of my Inktense blocks. And I'm loving the effect of this. It's very watercolory look, but it's ink and it's permanent when it's dry. It just finishes it completely off. Then I'm just adding a little bit of color here, burnt sienna to the rabbit, just peeking it up. Loving the look of this. Using some gel medium to glue those napkin roses that I harvested from the napkin. And I grabbed another one of the sentiments that I had looked for, and this one says, "Show me the bunny." And the other one says, "There's no bunny else like you." Now all of these could have been made on a 5x7 canvas, on a canvas board, on art journal pages, on a cradled wood panel. Using my Posca pen to outline the sentiment. Just makes it stand out. And I'm shading with some black around the outside edge. This just edges it. And because the Inktense block that I used to color it, that's permanent. Once it's dry, it's not lifting and moving. I can't tell you how much I love that card and how it turned out. The year of the rabbit is predicted to be a year of hope. And I was born in the year of the rabbit, so it just seems fitting that I did a tribute to the year of the rabbit. But you could take these same rice paper ones and turn it into Easter cards with an Easter sentiment. Now I was going to leave this one, but that burnt sienna on the ears and on its body, I grabbed some copper paint and my stylus, and I'm just adding 3 dots with the copper color right here. And that just ties it all in together. Love, love, love how that looks. Now, if there wasn't a wreath around it, you could easily have painted that circle around any focal image, painted in the leaves the same way. And build it. Maybe that's something I'll do on another art journal page. Love how these turned out. And so there are my 4 projects. So we have the 5x7 card with the teal flowers and the gel print background. The 6x6 with the napkin roses. So check out your napkins for small embellishments that you can add to any page. The art journal page with the stencil butter. And the copper paint with the stylus. Now, I'm liking that copper color, and I notice on the background of this one, there's kind of that burnt sienna color, so I'm just using some of that copper, and I'm putting the center dot in that copper color just to make it all go together. I also decide to go on the art journal page and the 5x7 card and paint the leaves the same way I did on the last 2 6x6 cards. So even when you think you're done, you're not. And I have 2 more rice paper bunnies and 2 more sentiments. So I'm going to make actually 6x6 cards with those. I love how that turned out. So just play with, maybe I'll come with some more variations. Here's a 6x6 mixed media board from the Crafter's Workshop. I think I'll make one of those on there, and then it can stand on an easel, on a counter, or on a mantle. So there are all 4 projects. Which one do you like the most? Until next time, go get creative.